All right, it is 9:05. We haven't had anybody else come into the meeting, so I think we are ready to go ahead and get started. Jenna, ready to kick us off?
Hello, guys. Yes, and you will be changing the slides, right?
Yes, Claudia is taking control of all of the slides, so she'll be forwarding it forward for us.
Okay. Well, good morning. Thank you all for being here. Here, as in online. I miss the days when we could all join in person, and look forward to the future when we can do that again. I've really missed seeing all of you guys and getting to have that face-to-face interaction, but we'll get back to that eventually. I'm Jenna Walker. I'm the program manager for Texas Stream Team, and I'm just gonna kick things off today, and am really excited to have time with y'all and see familiar names and then also new names, and I'm just so thrilled that our organization can thrive even in the times of COVID. What a year it's been, such a doozy. And I was just looking back at my notes throughout the past 10 months and saw that even in April, I was saying, things are hard. This is difficult, how unexpected. And I had no idea at that time that was just the beginning of things shutting down and staying shut down. But what an amazing way to continue to connect with your community and our larger community and the rivers and natural environment. So I feel really lucky that we have Texas Stream Team for all those reasons and more. I want to give a shout out to Rachel Sanborn. Most of y'all I know, but I've been with the Meadows Center for a little over 5 years now, and have been a partner and trainer and citizen scientist with Texas Stream Team for about twice that long, now going on over 10 years, when Rachel Sanborn trained me as a new grad student along the San Marcos River. So she's the program leader for the San Marcos River Foundation and the River Rangers. So just want to say hi and thank you for all you do and that training so long ago. But I'm going to let our staff introduce themselves, and just want to say thank you again for being here, and then I'll say a few more words after everybody introduces themselves.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Asma Navarro. I am our Watershed Services Program Coordinator at the Meadows Center for Water and the Environment. I've talked to most, if not all of you. My main roles with Texas Stream Team is scheduling our trainings, coordinating with trainers to get their trainings or get them trained to be a trainer, scheduling all of our outside events too, working with the group on developing materials, modifying, making sure everything is ready and as perfect as we can possibly get it during the time of COVID. Myself and a few of us have also worked on converting as much as we can to a virtual platform to continue holding Texas Stream Team trainings while us at Texas State have been in a lockdown. So do a little bit of everything, and I'm excited to go over what we've been working on. We have plans even for the future that we want to talk to you guys about, and we welcome any feedback from y'all. We want to make sure that what we're doing is going to obviously make everybody's lives easier and be a slow transition, and we really welcome any feedback for today.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. My name is Sandra Arismendes. I'm the Water Quality Monitoring Coordinator. I've been with the Texas Stream Team for a little over a year now. And my role on the team is primarily with respect to handling the quality assurance and the quality control side of the program. So I work with Aspen, updating our training materials with respect to our monitoring procedures. I am involved in the supply requests that you guys submit, any questions related to equipment. And I also take the lead on the data summary reports that you see come out every quarter. We try to include links on our newsletter to kind of promote those reports, and we take the existing Stream Team data that's available and analyze the data and write up a summary report. Those are that's one of our deliverables for our grant that we get from the TCEQ. So with that, I'll turn it over to Claudia.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Claudia Campos, and I am the Administrative Coordinator for Texas Stream Team. So I basically kind of just support our staff with everything and anything that they need as far as our TCEQ contracts and any other funding that we have. We are grant funded, so we're always looking for funding. So I mostly kind of handle a lot of little things here and there for Stream Team. I know I've spoken to a few of you, so it's good to see you here. I think I'm the main contact when it comes to certificates, so I'm the one you're talking to whenever you're asking for any issues on that. So yeah, feel free to contact us with any questions you might have on any topics we discuss here today.
Good morning, everyone. Laura Parchman here, and my official title is GIS and Data Management Associate. What that means for you is account requests that come through to access the data viewer. I create those new accounts. I manage the data in our data viewer. I can make edits for you by request if you realize you've entered something wrong and you don't have a group leader. I can pull reports from the data viewer for you to provide all the data that you've been collecting over the years, your group has. I'm also the final step in creating new sites since those go into the data viewer. So I think I've said the word data a lot. So what I do for you is help manage the data.
My name is Megan Lobin, and I am the education manager. And the majority of my time is actually spent here on site at the Meadow Center with the Spring Lake Education Program. But I oversee the education components for Texas Stream Team with any groups that visit our site here, as well as going to some of the local schools and events that happen in our area. And I am happy to help you guys.
Okay, thanks, guys. So that's our team. We also have a few student workers and just one that y'all might have met before, Errol Austin Bingaman. Her last day was yesterday, but she's gonna still continue on. Hopefully just keeping in touch and involved with Bobcat Stream Team now as a graduate student at Texas State. So you may have some interaction with others on our staff, but this is our core team. And we also have Nick Dornack as our Director of Watershed Services that is not here with us today. And of course, Robert Mace, our Acting Director of the Meadow Center. Okay, Claudia, if you could go to the next slide. I'll talk about our agenda. So I'm going to say a few words about our 30th anniversary and then turn it over to the rest of the team to give y'all more updates, talking about in-kind match, the data viewer, and our goals for this year, and then open it up for Q&A. Okay, next slide. So as 2021 is now here, we are officially in our 30th year of operation. And I know everybody's on silent or mute right now, but I just want to give a huge cheer and round of applause to the entire community of Texas Stream Team for this amazing accomplishment over 30 years. And a lot of the people that helped lay the foundation for it are still involved and still, you know, checking in on Texas Stream Team. And I don't know how many of y'all know Mike Bira with EPA, but he was instrumental in helping develop the originally called Texas Watch. And he just recently retired, I think on the 31st of December from the EPA after 30 years. And Texas Stream Team has been his baby along the way. And I know he's planning to stay involved. And so hopefully we can wrangle him into more activities with us. He just moved to San Marcos from the Dallas area. So sounds like he's not going anywhere. And then so many of y'all have been involved in this amazing group for many, many years. And so we just want to take this opportunity to celebrate and also use it as a way to grow the program, grow awareness about the program, recruit more citizen scientists, and therefore monitoring sites, obtaining more data, more eyes on the river. We just, you know, there's always more to do, and also just want to take the opportunity to strengthen the program. And as Claudia and Aspen mentioned, of course, we are grant funded, so hoping to take this opportunity to spread the word to potential funders and identify ways of growth in that regard. So we have a couple of different tools that we've developed, and you know, we were going to do the Texas Stream Team Fest 30th anniversary in person this spring, but we've pushed that back. It's still up in the air on if we're gonna either do a fall event in person or still convert it to an online experience. But y'all will be the first to know. And you know, we're taking into account all the safety precautions, but also just the amount of planning and want to do it right. So that's still up in the air, but we are going to start rolling out some tools for our partners and trainers to be helping spread the word about this amazing accomplishment. So we have a social media kit here linked to our website, and it has just ideas for how to share about your activities with Texas Stream Team. There's a hashtag and photos and a lot of different ideas listed. Aspen, were you wanting to open that up and go through it, or?
We're gonna do a website tour at the end, and we'll show you guys where it's at. In addition to that, we also are gonna be sending out the PowerPoint to y'all. And so all of the links that we have embedded on photos and within the actual text, you will be able to click on and use after the meeting as well.
Okay, great. So let us know if you have questions about that, but we'll get into more details about it in a little bit. I also just wanted to acknowledge, you know, how we've had to shift during the COVID-19 days and times, and really want to thank everybody for being just resilient and looking for ways to continue trainings when possible. Just want to remind everybody that we do encourage you to follow any local ordinances if you are leading trainings in person, and then keeping just everybody safe. So if it's either, you know, separating out the different supplies so that there's not a lot of people overlapping what they're touching, or you know, spacing everybody out. We ask that you're mindful of that, and the team has worked really hard to make some of these trainings possible online, and we continue to improve that and Again, just want to recognize some of you guys for your creative thinking and resourcefulness about, continuing to get more people trained in the field. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that, and also hope to roll out some new features that can be useful during this strange time in our lives. So from there, I'm going to hand it over to Aspen. You're next, right?
I do have one more thing I wanted to add. So we are planning on doing a giveaway on, I think it's planned for the end of this month, if not early next month. We'll let y'all know whenever we do launch it. But we want to do a giveaway on social media with a couple of different goodies, maybe some monitoring equipment. We're still kind of putting it together. So we want y'all to help us endorse that, help us, part of celebrating our 30th anniversary. We thought it would be something fun, something we haven't ever done before, but also utilizing our social platform a little bit more. So we'll give y'all some more information when that comes. But now, Claudia, you are up.
Okay, so I hope all of you guys are familiar with this resource. I believe we make it an effort to talk about this once you get trained. So hopefully this isn't new. So we've had this online calendar for a couple years now, and basically this is what it looks like here on the side. There's a photo shot of it, and I believe it is linked as well, so I won't click on it. But basically this is what it is, and it's just a public view calendar, and it is where anybody who has access to this link can view our events or our partners' events, or even your trainings that have been scheduled and communicated to us. So I think it is a very important resource for our organization to get the word out across the state. We're located in San Marcos, but we are active all throughout the state, as you all very well know. And so how do you get your events on this calendar? So basically there is this separate link here, and it is specifically to submit events. And the way you would know is obviously through the link, but on the upper right-hand corner of the calendar, there will always show what the name of the calendar is. So this one says read only. So that means it is only for public view. You cannot edit any of these events. They are locked. So through this link, you can actually submit events, and we'll go through that later through our website tour. And there is a link to our online calendar. So we'll go through that later. But what's new for us, which we're trying to make your lives easier, is this resource guide here that we've created to help you guys basically give you instructions on how to send events to this calendar. Now, sending events to the calendar doesn't necessarily mean that they will be posted on the public view calendar. They still need to be approved by me. And I do see that. So when you send them, they have an orange label, and we'll go through that later. But that is basically just a label for me to see. It is bright. It gets my attention, and I basically just accept it, make any edits as necessary, and it is released to this calendar. So yeah, we'll go through that later. Basically, the importance of this calendar is to let us know when you guys are active, if you need help advertising any events. A lot of the times, we do get emails from you guys when you're planning these types of events, but sometimes it's just easier if you want to add it on there. It helps me skip a step. But either way, you guys can send events to us at txstreamteam@txstate.edu, and I will get them on there. We have fabulous help from student workers that can assist me with this. So it is not too much of a hassle if that is easier for you guys. And it is actually in this resource guide how to send that to us as far as the details that we need from you guys, such as a deadline for registration, who to register with, that kind of information. So yeah, we'll go through that later. Let's see, what else did I want to say on this? Yeah, I think I basically touched on everything, but it just helps us maintain our records as well. We do like to brag about how active our network is, so it kind of lets us gather those types of metrics, to show off to the university that we are out there doing our thing.
Can I add something to that too, Claudia?
Sure.
in regards to metrics, it also helps us show the TCEQ, who is funding the Texas Stream Team program, partially. It also shows them what activities that we have going on, why we are in, we are in demand, why we continue to need those grant funds as well. So it helps for multiple reasons. And like Claudia said, if you don't know how to do it, or you want to just make it easy and shoot us over the information, that works too. But we do want to make sure we get all of our trainings on the online calendar, because people do reach out to us and they're like, hey, there's no trainings going on in, I'm just going to pick an area in Llano. Even though there may be trainings going on, it's just not on our calendar. So we are really trying to pull everybody to the calendar, kind of use it as a one-stop shop for everything that's happening in the state of Texas for Texas Stream Team.
Yeah, and it's our first, like Aspen said, our one-stop shop to refer people to when they're on that wait list. And if you guys ever need help with getting people to attend your trainings, this is how we do that. Yeah, but if you guys already have like a set training that's private, none of that information is shared, just FYI. It is still okay to advertise that. Okay, so on to the next few resources that are available to you. This is prior to your event. So here we have a brand guide. And again, I'll go to this later at our website tour. But basically, we have an example right here on the right-hand side of the screen. And that is an example of the flyer template. But basically, it follows all the branding guidelines that we have set for our program. And so you see the colors that we like to use, the fonts, our logo, our website handle. So that's kind of what we ask. If you guys are ever going to be promoting Texas Stream Team, to follow these guidelines. So the link to that is right here, and it is also available on our website. So then that's a good segue to our flyer templates. We've tried to help you guys out with advertising these types of events. So I've included the standard core flyer that we have available on our website here. And I believe we have others available, but since this is the most common training that you guys will be leading, I've decided to include that here. But basically, this is a template and it is a PDF. So it does require Adobe Acrobat DC to edit it based on your training's details. So if you don't have that software available, you could always reach out to us and we could just send you like a Word version of this file. That is not a problem. So yeah, it just kind of follows our guidelines, and there are details here that would need to be edited, just FYI. So if you decide to use these, make sure you edit those details. Okay, so then we have a handout, and again, I'll pull this up later. And what it basically is a half a page size flyer type of little descriptor of our program. And it was mostly made prior to COVID-19 with the idea of having this available to our partners and trainers that may be attending any kind of tabling events. And so that's likely not going to be happening anytime soon. But a few of our partners have decided to put together some care package type of giveaways. And so this would be one of those resources that you could print and cut them to size and just put them in those types of packages. So, for contactless takeaways. So that is one good thing about that is available on our website. And then we have this new program video that we've had since 2019. And this was actually sponsored by TCEQ. It is a beautiful less than 3-minute video that basically covers our program and our citizen scientists and how awesome it is. And it's just a really short, quick, easy to digest video about what our program is and how impactful it is for the great state of Texas. So I definitely recommend you guys look at that if you haven't had a chance to. I think we sent it out a couple times. We were very proud of it. And shout out to Marty Kelly and Lisa Martinez, who participated in the video and were there to show, how they do their thing out there at their locations. And it made it look so genuine. And I get so emotional every time I watch it. So it's definitely a great resource to share. And I believe it might have been included in that social media toolkit. So if it is, definitely share that if you can.
You ready for me to launch the poll, Claudia?
Yes.
I forgot to do it in the last one, but it's okay. It works out perfectly on this side too. So I'm going to launch a poll really quickly. You guys should be seeing it. Are you currently leading trainings at this time? Give it a few more seconds. Waiting on about 9 people. All right, and poll. So exactly what we expected, given the shutdown of COVID. So about 76% said no, and 24% are holding trainings at this time. All right, stop sharing that. Okay, we can proceed.
Thank you. Okay, handing it off to Aspen.
Okay, so if y'all have been on our website lately, we have moved things around, tried to make it more user-friendly, more accessible for y'all, which is why we're going to be going over the whole website, just doing a quick tour at the end, kind of showing you where your main resources will be as trainers. We have divided out our citizen science resources and our trainer resources. So there's now a whole page dedicated to everything trainers will need, whether it's leading a training, becoming a trainer, outreach materials and resources, which Claudia just covered. We plan to add more to that as well, and additional resources such as equipment form, the partner activity report form, which Claudia will be discussing further along in this presentation. So we'll go through it and later on in this presentation, but just something to note. We have tried to make it as accessible for y'all as possible. So any feedback to anything that maybe we might be missing, or maybe things that aren't on there that you think would be helpful for y'all as you're leading trainings and promoting your Texas Stream Team group. On the trainer resource page, there is a new trainer enrollment form. Some of y'all have already been submitting this, but basically if you are currently working to become a trainer, or you have finished your trainer process, you got to submit the trainer enrollment form. And that lets us know that you have completed all of the phases that are required to be a trainer. And then once we get that submitted, we just verify the trainings that you attended, and then you will receive your trainer certificate. And let's see, if you must be a certified trainer to lead trainings. So if we notice that we don't have a trainer enrollment form documented, or any other resource that lets us know that you are a trainer, because this form is a little bit newer, but if we notice that you are leading trainings and we don't have any documentation, we are going to ask for documentation and before we can certify those Texas Stream Team citizen scientists that attended your training. So something just to note. Another thing to note is if you do move on, please notify us. We do have y'all's information listed on our trainer page on our website. That is a key resource for anybody who's looking to get involved in Texas Stream Team, specifically in their area. They will look at your contact information and try to reach out. We understand there's turnover, and so we just want to make sure we keep our resources updated as much as possible. And if there's anybody that's going to be replacing you too, feel free to shoot their information our way, and we will make sure to document that. All right. Okay, so probably the biggest change of COVID is our new training enrollment form. So the trainer enrollment form is specifically for trainers, but the training enrollment form is going to be for your trainees as you are leading training. So on the left is the training enrollment form. This is basically our paper training packets that has been converted into an online form. Yay for reducing paper, but also this has been, so far, everything has been working out really well. It's been making our system a lot easier. We are able to process certificates and get things going a little bit faster. But I'm going to explain to y'all how this process works. So we are slowly transitioning to this, so we don't expect you to just go and do this right away. We understand sometimes, just kind of slowly easing into it. So we are still accepting the hard copy training packets, but we will really suggest y'all to start transitioning over to the online version as well. So the training enrollment form will be filled out by your citizen scientists who are going to be attending your training. They'll enter in all of their information, just like what is on the hard copy training packet. The important thing to note, though, is to make sure to send them your name, any other trainers that are going to be attending's name, as well as the date and the training type. Those are questions that are asked on the training enrollment form. Now, going back to the calendar, what we have started doing is we have started putting that information on the calendar directly. So instead of having people email us asking to attend a training, we actually link our training enrollment form on the calendars and tell them that specific information to make sure to put on the training enrollment form so they can officially RSVP for the training. So what this means is you don't actually have to print out training packets anymore. We do have online versions. It is on the website. So you can send those to your citizen scientists directly instead of printing those out. And all we would need from you, if you're using this method, is our Texas Stream Team training sign-in sheet, which is the second photo here. Claudia, can you move your mouse a little bit? The little URL link, there you go. So we've had this sign-in sheet. I know we haven't really pressed it before in the past, but we really are going to try to press this now. This helps us, especially if you're using the training enrollment form, this helps us basically do a quality control check on who has actually attended your training. So what we do is the training enrollment form actually gets submitted to us directly via email. We have access to the form on the back end as well. And then once you submit the training sign-in sheet, we just compare everybody who submitted the enrollment form to the sign-in sheet, and then those people are the ones who receive the certification. So if there's anybody missing on the sign-in sheet, then they won't receive their training for that specific type of training. The sign-in sheet, we ask for the basic information, the date, the location, what type of training, how many people you trained, what your group or partner name is, and then what other trainers were there, if any. And then if there's any trainees that are also in training, or let's see, what does it say? Trainers' names. So that way we have documentation too of any trainers that are in training, as well as who the trainer was that led it. So let me know if there's any questions on this. Feel free to pop it in the chat. I want to make sure that this is understood all around. Again, we will be, doing the hard copies, but we are slowly going to be trying to phase these out. So training enrollment form, send that over to your citizen scientists, have them fill it out. It'll go to us directly. All you need to do is print out the sign-in sheet, have that filled out in its entirety, and then we go ahead and cross-reference the sign-in sheet with the training enrollment form.
Okay, hello everyone. So I will be talking to you today. The next couple of slides are targeting, providing information about supplies, our equipment, some protocols, changes that have occurred that we're starting to implement with respect to quality control measures. And so I'm going to start out with just briefly mentioning our Texas Stream Team Quality Assurance Project Plan. And so there's a link to our QAPP embedded within the PowerPoint. So when you receive the copy of the PowerPoint, you can go there and it'll take you straight to our QAPP. So what is a QAPP? So for those of you not familiar, it's a document that's a requirement of our grant through EPA, from EPA through TCEQ. And so it describes all of our procedures, all of the methodologies that we use, that citizen scientists use for collecting the various environmental data types. And so it's, if you're having a hard time falling asleep, pull this out. It'll help. But a lot of our the details of our protocols, our field guides, and our manuals for the different monitoring types are derived from the information presented in the Quality Assurance Project Plan. So when we go through the website tour, we can point you in the direction of those more user-friendly, easy to read type documents for the various training types. But I just wanted to point this out and let you know that a lot of the information that I will be presenting and some of the changes that we will be implementing are documented in the QAPP, and they are approved and by EPA, by TCEQ, and they are a requirement of our program, in particular for our funding associated with the program. So let's see. One of the things I wanted to mention up front at this point is we've had a couple of people inform us about some issues with the ColiScan EZ-Gel media. And so I just wanted to share that information with everyone in the event that you all have had similar issues and don't feel like you're the only one. So we had HGAC. We had Kendall Guidros approach us about a month ago, maybe a little bit longer, about some issues with the media that she had been receiving. She was sampling water in bacteria-laden stream, and they were not getting the color results coming through in their Petri dishes. And then we also had a similar situation with the Cibolo Center for Conservation. We had Donna Taylor report similar issues, but I think they were provided with some new media, and actually Micrology informed them that their media was faulty. And so at this point, I thought it would be good just to run a poll and see if anybody else has been having issues with their media. So Aspen has just launched the poll. So 1, do you monitor for E. coli bacteria? And if yes, let us know in the chat if you have experienced any issues with the media. Basically, the media was not responding to the bacteria growth, is my understanding. And I believe there were some issues with the manufacturer of the media. So it looks like we have quite a few, actually. So like I said, 2 of y'all have reported it to us. It looks like there are 5 people that responded to the poll with a yes. And so we'll definitely follow up with you. And if you don't hear from us, feel free to reach out via the email and let us know what your issues are. I know Donna had provided some specific sampling events that may be inaccurate because of the use of this particular faulty media. And so that's good information for us to have. We can follow up on our end and ensure that those issues are documented in our database. All right, well, thanks for that information. We'll move on to the next slide. So one of the things I wanted to point out here is this new equipment form. So with the various trainings that we provide, there's a lot of equipment, lots of supplies, associated with each of the trainings. And so one of the things we've done is we've updated our website to include vendor information. We've included some pricing information, although that is, it fluctuates quite a bit over time. So the pricing that's included on the website is not always up to par, but it will give you some idea of what the price, a general idea of what the price associated with the various supplies and equipment is. So you can go to our website here, and on the left-hand side, you can click on the different monitoring types, and it will take you to a page that looks similar to this one here on the right. So it's a table with the item. It includes vendor information, the part number, and then again, some of the pricing, or the most recent pricing that we've encountered. So hopefully this will be useful to you. I know we have a lot of requests for reagents, replacement supplies. And so there are two ways you can approach replenishing your supplies. So one is you can go directly to the vendor and, place your order and handle it yourself. And then the other option, there's also a supply request form that's online, and we'll go through that as well during the web tour at the end of the training here, of the presentations. And so the supply request form is an online document where you can list the supplies that you're seeking. You can submit that form. We can order the necessary supplies for you, and then invoice the appropriate entity for payment, and then we'll mail those out as well. So two options for you to consider when replacing your supplies and or equipment. Okay, one of the things, we can go to the next slide. One of the things we're trying to do across the board is, let's start with the conductivity meters on the right. So we're going to launch a poll here in a minute to ask which of the two conductivity meters you currently have. So this tan colored one on the left is one of the older models that we've used in the past. Some of you may be using that model still, but we're trying to upgrade to the one on the right, which is the Tracer. It's a little bit more dependable. It's a more recent model that we've started to use, and we'd like to get everybody transitioned over to the newer model and everybody on the same page using the same equipment. So we're going to launch a poll in a minute to see if anybody is still using the older one on the left. And then with respect to the refractometer over on the left side of the screen, in the past, we've had some issues with our conductivity meter not being able to read some of the salinity measurements that some of our citizen scientists have encountered. And so we've transitioned over to this refractometer. This is a new piece of equipment. It hasn't been used in the past, to my knowledge anyway, but we have included a procedure for its use. In our manual, we also have a field guide to that describes the procedure for implementing this. So it's primarily for coastal water bodies or estuarine water bodies that are influenced by salt water. But we also have some citizen scientists up in the Pecos area where those waters are pretty salty, and it has to do with the geology in the area. And so they too have begun to implement the use of the refractometer. And so we'd like to know if anyone on the coast has encountered problems with using their conductivity meters for measuring salinity. If so, are you interested in transitioning over to the refractometer? And so we have a limited supply of those as well available. And so we would definitely be glad to share those with you all. So we're going to go ahead and launch the poll at this point and get some feedback.
Poll is launched, and we had a good question come into. It says, if we ordered a new standard core kit, do you know if the tracer, the new conductivity meter, will be included in it?
Yes, I believe so. Hold on just a minute. Let me grab one. I have a new kit here in the office.
I'm like 99% positive it does. But good to double check.
What's I do? I guess I'm gonna come down and go pick up Rowan after I put up.
Yes, your new kits, we ordered some new kits. I guess it
Yeah.
was last spring, and we did get the new tracer conductivity meter. So the answer is yes.
Yeah, and Rachel verified yes, too.
Okay.
All right, we'll go ahead and stop the poll.
So it looks like we have quite a few that are still using the older tan colored conductivity meter. So we don't currently have the new tracers available for distribution, but it's something that we're looking at budgets and trying to find ways to get everyone up to speed. So we'll definitely get back with you on that. And it doesn't look like anybody needs the refractometer at this point. All right.
Jennifer asked, refractometer is for salt water?
Yes, predominantly for saltwater. Like I said, we had some folks up in the Pecos River area that were having issues with their conductivity meter, measuring the specific conductance in those waters, because they do have a high salt content, even though they are not on the coast. And it's a result of the local geology in that particular area. And so they are using the refractometer up there as well. But I think that's a special case.
Yeah, I wanted to repeat to Sandra,
Mhm.
if you do have the old conductivity meter, go ahead and tell us in the chat how many, because like Sandra said, we are looking to get grant funds to help move everybody up to speed on the newer equipment. So if you haven't already popped in how many old ones you have, which will let us know how many new ones we need to provide, please do so.
And another thing to consider is, if you hold trainings on the coast and you're, introducing the refractometer, keep that in mind as well, that we do have a supply, although limited, but we do have some that we can share for those that are interested in exploring that.
We had another question come in too, Sandra.
Mhm.
Kendall said, does the new tracer require a specific conductivity solution level? With the older model, we were able to choose one that is best suited for our region.
Yeah, it's probably more flexible, so you can use various concentrations.
Yeah. And the new one is about, I think it's what, 115. I'm looking at the Lamont website and I'm not seeing.
Now, I think you have to request, get a quote, but I'd say some of the prices I saw online through Amazon and like that, they were around 120-ish.
Okay. And if y'all don't know how many of the old ones you have, feel free to email us. I saw a couple people saying they'll follow back up with us. So that's totally fine. Don't feel like you have to answer us now. Just shoot us an email.
All right, we'll go on to the next slide. So quality control sessions. I think we're going to launch a poll to get a feel for how many of our trainers are conducting quality control sessions, and then provide some updates to the QC sessions. So if you want to launch the poll, Aspen. Yeah, basically, do you conduct QC sessions? If so, how often? So the options are no, yes once per year, yes twice per year, yes as needed. Okay, wow, about 50-50. All right, well, that's good information to have. QC sessions in the past were required on an annual basis. And it's been difficult to track those, you know, who is actually conducting them and who isn't. And I think part of that is because the time commitment that these citizen scientists, you know, they commit to a 1-year term, but then, you know, a lot of them drop off, and so they're not consistent over time. Is kind of what I've gathered from my time here. And so we've changed the frequency to every 2 years. Now, a lot of these changes comply with or mimic the TCEQ's Clean Rivers Program requirements. And so I know the Clean Rivers Program partners undergo audits like every 2 years and, you know, implement some of their QC auditing procedures on a 2-year cycle. And so we've modified our QC sessions to kind of mimic theirs. So in the past, they were required on an annual basis. Going forward, they will be required every 2 years to kind of mimic their protocol. And so I just wanted to touch base on some new field QC checklists that we've been working on. So the monitoring forms for the various monitoring types have been updated to include some of the protocols that I'm going to talk about on the next slide. But on the back side of these monitoring forms, we've also included a field QC checklist. So it's a checklist, just a quick reminder of things that need to occur when you're out in the field. And so you just, you know, read through there, check them off as they occur. And then with respect to the QC sessions, kind of going back and forth here, but they're related, you know, the two topics, the checklist and the sessions. We've kind of struggled with how to implement, how to track, how to document these QC sessions. And I think the poll results kind of reflect that, that struggle as well. So we don't have a concrete approach moving forward. We've had a lot of discussions internally about how to proceed with these. And so, you know, some of the ideas we've come up with are, one, to have these in-person QC sessions with a trainer, a QAO, or a Texas Stream Team staff member. I think our current situation doesn't really allow for that. And so we're leaning towards preparing or establishing a protocol to have virtual QC sessions. And these would be led by either Texas Stream Team staff or, you know, trainers on an as-needed basis. Another option would be to create these videos and have it a virtual video-based QC session. And then, of course, you know, our local partners and or programs can also have trainer-led QC sessions. So we welcome your feedback on what you think would be a good a good way to approach this. We haven't come up with anything concrete at this point. But those are some of the thoughts that we have going forward. And this is one of our, at the top of our list for our 2021 goals. And so we would welcome your input, and you'll definitely be hearing from us throughout the year about
Sandra,
how.
oh, sorry. I didn't mean
That's
to cut
okay,
you off.
go ahead.
I've gotten a couple of IMs directly, and I also see some to everybody as well. Just for a little bit more elaboration on what you mean by quality control sessions.
Okay, well, the original core manual and some of the, I don't recall if the advanced manual describes this, but I know the core manual describes a QC session as doing a side-by-side monitoring event with the quality assurance officer and the citizen scientist. And the purpose here is to ensure that the protocol are being implemented as described in our QAPP, our manuals, our field guides. So it's a check every 2 years to ensure that, you know, the protocols are being implemented properly. And so this also goes back to our quality assurance project plan in trying to ensure that those protocols are implemented. And ultimately, you know, to ensure data quality. So ensure that our data are being collected in a uniform manner, or as uniform manner as possible statewide. Yeah, just making sure they're comparable, using the same equipment, same protocol, that kind of thing.
And I think there are also, just to add, what's also good about the quality control sessions is when new equipment comes out, like what we're experiencing now, or with the refractometer and the conductivity meter for the standard core training. It's nice to be able to introduce that equipment, but also just make sure that you know, the protocols are in place, everything looks good, nothing looks off. Also, Sandra, I am getting some messages about, it looks like some people are asking about the meter as far as the probe training. So just want to make sure we clarify that the conductivity meter we're talking about is for the standard core training only, which measures the conductivity of your water sample, to not get confused with the probe core meters. The probe core meters are different. Those measure multiple parameters. So if you have those, you're still fine, good to go, don't need to worry. But this is specifically just for the standard core training.
Yeah, good point. The probe core meters are definitely a little bit a little different. So yeah, this is for standard core. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. And so this slide points out the various monitoring protocols for the different parameters. So we'll start out with dissolved oxygen. So dissolved oxygen has not changed. For the core, standard core monitoring program, it's, you know, you implement the same protocol for measuring DO. You run duplicate samples, you compare the results of both bottles, and it has to, you know, fall within plus or minus 0.5 milligrams per liter of each other. And then you average the measurement, and that's what you report. So for DO, nothing has changed. For the conductivity measurement, so the manual describes a pre and post calibration of the meter. And that's been in place for some time now. I know the manual has been revised several times, but that protocol has been included. And so We've updated the monitoring forms to make it more conducive to documentation of these calibrations that need to occur. And so maybe during the web tour, we can bring up one of the core monitoring form and just point out where the documentation of these results needs to be recorded. So again, with the conductivity meter, the actual meter has changed. So we're trying to upgrade everyone, but the protocol hasn't changed. The pre and post calibrations have always been there. So just wanted to point that out as a reminder that those need to take place, and we'll talk more about where to document that. So for pH, most people use the colorimeter, and so there is no calibration requirement for that equipment. We have recommended a buddy system in our revised manual for core anyway. And the mindset there is that, you know, 2 sets of eyes are better than 1. And so also for safety purposes, we're strongly recommending, this isn't a requirement per se, but it's, I think, good practice to have, to go out in the field with a buddy and, you know, get some input on the pH colorimeter reading. I know we've done it internally amongst staff, and we always come up with different, slightly different measurements. And so it's good to have, you know, more than 1 set of eyes. And then some folks also use a pH meter. I don't think very many people do. Most people use the colorimeter, but the pH meter is often used for to compensate for color blindness. Some folks can't see the difference in color using the colorimeter. And so for those of you that do use the pH meter, there is protocol in the manual and the field guide for pre and post calibrations for that as well. And that's similar for the probe, use of the probe core monitoring protocol. So moving along to the refractometer, again, there is a calibration procedure in advance of using the refractometer in the field. We have a 1-page field guide that describes the use of that. And so the refractometer doesn't require a post calibration, but it does require pre-calibration. And it's pretty straightforward. You use DI water, you zero it out, and then you go out in the field and conduct your measurement. And then the other thing that's new is the temperature check. So we have equipment at in our kits to conduct a temperature check. And temperature is a pretty important parameter in the broad scheme of things. And so we're asking that the thermometer be compared, the temperature of your thermometer be compared to the temperature of your conductivity meter. So the conductivity meter will give you a temperature reading as well. And so, you know, you take a cup of water, you put the 2 in the same container of water, and you cross-check just to make sure that the accuracy of your thermometer is up to par. So it doesn't require any new equipment. It doesn't require anything except for a cup of water. And you can do a quick cross-check and make sure everything's working properly. And I think the goal is to be within 1 degree Celsius for the 2 instruments. Okay, that was all I had. Do we have any questions?
Let's see. Kayla says, I'm having trouble with one volunteer not completing the conductivity calibration table. I reminded her a couple times, but she either doesn't fill it all out or doesn't calibrate to the correct standard. Can you provide any tips?
Yeah, I think the one-page field guide would be good. It's easy to read, it's step by step, and it takes you through both pre-calibrations, through the measurement, actually conducting your field measurement, and also the post calibration. And it's designed to follow the monitoring form, the updated monitoring form. So it'll tell you exactly where to document everything. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay, I'm going through the chat. I think we've answered everything up until this point. Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break. We have maybe 40 minutes left. We planned for extra time today just to be safe, but we don't have too many slides left, and then we'll go over the website. So let's go ahead and circle back here at like 10:20, and then we'll get started on the second half. I'm going to go ahead and pop the sign-in sheet again. I know I've done it a lot already, but I'm going to put it in the chat again in case you joined us a little late and you haven't signed in yet. Please do so. And then we will see y'all back here at 10:20. All right, it is 10:20. So we are going to go ahead and move forward. I think, Claudia, you are up next.
Ma'am. So I forgot to mention earlier that I also handle match. It's one of the major things I do at Texas Stream Team. So if you guys have any questions on this topic, feel free to reach out directly to me or to the TX Stream Team account. So first, let's talk, what is match? It's kind of tricky for some of y'all to get an idea what this is, but basically match are non-federal share of costs. What that means is that it's basically funds that should not come from federal dollars. And that can be from volunteer time, that would be as in sampling time. It could be staff time, it could be time spent on trainings, it could be time spent on planning events, it could be a lot of things. So we'll go over that in more detail later, but basically our contract does require 40% cost share. So we are required to report these quarterly, and we do send out those emails to you guys, mostly to our active partners, but I believe, our trainers are more than welcome to submit these forms to us. So if you are active, I can add you to that contact list. But basically, anytime, like we said earlier, if I have your training event on file, then you don't really need to do anything. We could kind of figure those numbers out, but it is just a lot easier to send us this form in the event that you have other expenses to report to us. So in addition to that, it lets us gather the value of volunteer time for our program, which is very valuable to us. We do follow the independent sector's volunteer time rate, which changes every year. And right now, I believe it is $27.20. That's $27.20 for every hour spent on the program. So that racks up a lot of in-kind match for us, which is really awesome. So a little bit about the sources and what you guys could report on these forms. And so on the right-hand side here of the screen is our traditional PAR form, and that stands for Partner Activity Report Form. And so it is broken out depending on what your activities are. So there's a section for reporting your certification sessions, which are trainings, how many, how long they were, and how many participants you had. And then QC sessions, which we actually just covered. So if you host any QC sessions, that does count towards program time. And also here it says environmental education. So that is any kind of events. Some of our partners do get requests from like schools and stuff to go talk to students about Texas Stream Team. So that kind of information is something you can share with us on this form. And then the second part here is for you to report any kind of expenses that you've incurred for any of these quarters. So that would be kits, reagents, office supplies like paper, ink. I know we're trying to move away from paper copies, but if you're still using that kind of stuff with your organization or group, that is fine. You could still report those expenses here. Let's see. And then, like I said, some of the other things like mileage. So again, that's total distance traveled, and we do require documentation. So like a mileage log, if you have it, that would suffice for that. And again, that could be, you know, distance traveled to your training location, distance traveled to your sampling location. And we do get that information on the monitoring form. So that's why those fields are required at the bottom as well from our citizen scientists. So yeah, any kind of those details are more than welcome here on this form. And like I mentioned earlier, coordinator hours. So here we do try to show the current volunteer rate, but if you do get a higher rate, include that. And that just lets us accurately reflect your staff contribution. So that might be different for some people. And then the amount of hours. So we just do a little bit of math here and we gather the total figure, which you don't need to do. I do that. I have a spreadsheet that does it all for me, and it is kind of a mess when you look at it, but I do know how to make sense of it all as far as reporting those figures to TCEQ. So also, one good thing that I do like about this form is that it allows you to let me know in advance your planned activities for the next quarter. So this is a section here that you could send me those scheduled dates for the next quarter, and I could just plop them in. Or, you know, you could just send me an email and just say, here, I'll communicate those to you in a later email. That is fine. Amount raised. So this would be if you did any fundraising on your own and you received a check from someone or a grant that you applied for, that does count as match. So if you want to share that with us, that would be awesome. But again, you know, I am going to go over some reminders in this next slide, but this is how you would fill out this traditional form. We have transitioned to an online version of it, which is this, and it's basically just translated over to an online form. So here's the link to that, and some reminders on these, which I think are the main ones, but again, you are feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions on these forms. One thing I do notice a lot is some of our trainers or partners will submit zero activity forms. You're not required to submit a form to me if you have no activity or expenses to report for the previous quarter. So that being said, I do need a separate form for every quarter that you will be reporting for. This is for our documentation. Okay, another reminder. So you're not required to submit this form to us if you plan to report your Texas Dream Team activity to another federally assisted project or program. And so that again just is, we're not allowed to double dip essentially. So if that's the case, just let me know. And I'll know that, okay, I'm not gonna expect to receive anything from you. So that is fine. Just know that we're not technically allowed to double count that activity on our end. And that is not a problem. We highly encourage you guys also, if you are generating your own match, do what you can with it. You know, we kind of have our requirement and we fulfill it pretty quickly. So I don't really want to be asking you guys to send that to us if we're not going to be using it. So again, you guys are more than welcome to use that if you need to. Supporting documentation is required. And like the previous form showed these little check marks for that, usually you could just, if you could send this to us via email also and just send the supporting documentations attached to the email, that would work fine. Otherwise, you could just use this form, which goes directly to us, and there's ways to attach files to here. So those files that get sent to us directly attached with the form. So that is another way of sending us that activity. There were a few of you guys that were sending your match through this form, and for some reason you guys were getting a not page found after hitting submit. However, I do want to let you know that that issue should be resolved, and for some reason, I don't know why that was coming up, but I was getting your submittals either way. So I did try to reply to you all to let you know that I did receive it. So if there's any concern whether it went through, just feel free to reach out and I'll reply back. I think that's it as far as that. Oh, I did want to mention, as far as supporting documentation goes, I know a lot of you guys, as far as sign-in sheets go, we do want to encourage you to send us your sign-in sheets right after your training event concludes. It is just a lot easier. It expedites the certificate process so much quicker, and it already gives me these forms to have on file for you. So if you've already sent those to us for the certification process, you are not required to send them again with this form, just FYI. I don't want to have you gather all that information for this form when we already have it on file. So just.
Hey, Claudia, I had one more thing to add.
Okay.
Thank you. That was awesome.
You're
Just want to encourage everybody, if you are looking for funds, additional funding for your own efforts, please reach out to us. We'd love to support you however we can. And like Claudia said, we do have sometimes an overabundance of match, so we'd be glad to share match with you if you're looking for that for a grant application or proposal. So, and even if you haven't identified one, but you have some ideas or you want to brainstorm or look for some funding together, we'd be happy to collaborate. That's it.
Thank
I
you,
did,
Jen.
if you're done, Claudia, I did want to speak on certificates.
Okay, yeah, that was all I had on that.
Okay, just because you brought them up and I just thought in my mind it'd be good to reiterate. So we have gotten into the pattern of sending out certificates the first week of every single month. This process has become a lot more seamless. We've tried to make it more seamless, and the online training enrollment form really helps us do this a lot quicker as well. So keep in mind, if you hold a training, maybe at the second week of the month, your citizen scientist won't get their certificates until the first week of the following month. Sometimes holidays throw this off, but we are trying to stick to the first week of the month. Your trainees are going to get their certificate. If by the second week comes and maybe you're receiving some inquiries that isn't the case, please reach out to us. Sometimes our certificates, they do come from MailChimp platform, and sometimes we have noticed that some people's certificates go into the junk folder. So make sure to tell your citizen scientist to look out for that too. Sometimes MailChimp is weird and it also doesn't like to send to some individuals. So we are trying to make it as seamless as possible. So feel free to reach out if you have any issues with that. But I wanted to reiterate that because this is a trainer meeting. So I want you all to be able to tell your citizen scientist when to expect those certificates.
Yeah, that's a good reminder to always mention after the training. Okay. Laura.
I couldn't find the unmute button. Confused about where it was. I was clicking my picture. Beep, beep, beep.
Different than Teams.
Well, hello again, everyone. I just want to mention a couple things before we dip into data. And that is that, I'm so often working on stuff that's entirely different from the rest of my team. So this is a good opportunity for me to say, or to see the awesome work that everyone else is doing and just be amazed by it. So that leads me to also say, there is a lot involved in being a trainer. So I want to thank all of you for being here and being a part of that. That's no small thing. And I'm just amazed and grateful for all of you being here. So with that being said, I would like to introduce you to, and you may have already met, this is the data map dashboard. It's an update to the map that we were previously using, but it's not all that different. I will just go counterclockwise, starting on the left-hand side with the little pop-out picture there. So you can still search for sites and you can search for an address. So if you're looking for a specific site, you know the number, you can type in the ID number. And if you have an address, the system allows you to use the ArcGIS encoding to find, if you're looking for a site near a certain location, you can use that. And if, like me, you accidentally input the wrong number and you wind up zoomed in somewhere in the middle of Russia, you can use the bookmarks bar to get back to Texas, or a more specific, this is only showing you a couple of the bookmarks that I've created for this map, but you can see the default, all of Texas, or you can zoom into a region just quickly if that's what you would like to do. You can also, if you have the sampling sites layer selected, you can choose to see the active or inactive sites. This is useful if you want to pick, because we can encourage you to choose an inactive site and we can reactivate it for you if you want to start a new site. And you can find those easily by selecting the inactive sites to view. Also, you can activate the viewable layers and you can see what type of testing is occurring at each place. So, and the legend is right there that shows you the core, advanced, the E. coli, bacteria, macroinvertebrate, the riparian testing sites where you can, if you need help deciding where to set up another site. There is an instruction panel that gives you some tips and guides on how to use that map. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them to me at the Texas Stream Team email, and I can make tweaks and update as I get your feedback to make it better for you. This is your tool, so I don't always think of the best things to do at first, but I enjoy making stuff that's useful. So if you have ideas, please let me know. You get to the water quality data table via the link down at the bottom, from the bottom panel. And I have included, it's not here, and I just want to say the map is updated as of yesterday, not December 2nd. And the water quality data was updated earlier this month, and I've included that date in the notes panel as well. And you can click on that to get to the Google Sheet where you can, where anyone, this is publicly accessible, so it's not just people with a data viewer account. So this is where you might want to send someone who's interested in looking at your data. You can send them to this map and they can click on the link to go to our sheet where they can sort and download the data as they find necessary. Yeah, I think that's all that needs to be addressed about the map. Excuse me.
I would say to Laura, just to let everybody know, just like with the certificates, the data map is also updated usually about the first week of every month. So Laura, do you kind of want to go through if a site's created, sometimes it might not be reflected until the following month?
Yeah, I pull all of the data, or I refresh the data at the beginning of a month, and the site might appear on the map, but if there's not a data attached to it, it should still show up now based on the way that I'm doing it, but no, actually it won't, because I use the latest sampling to determine whether, because the latest sampling date is used to determine whether the site is active or inactive. If there isn't yet data associated with the map, it's not going to appear. So if your site is newly created, it won't, don't expect it to be on here until you have a data attached to it. And that might mean if you monitor at the beginning of a month, it might not show up until the next month, if that makes sense. Is that good? Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to give myself a little pat on the back because I chose one of these things to highlight in our data viewer, and Sandra discussed it earlier. So I'm just like, that worked out well. So we have made updates to the forms. And again, you may have noticed this already. We've made updates to a few of the forms on the data viewer. So when you're entering the data, you have noticed that there are more required fields. And in particularly, I highlighted in the middle here, the instrument calibration fields, which you'll note like the date of calibration, the time, the standard temperature, and that's, as Sandra mentioned, these are required, this is required information to have. So in the beginning, we kind of limited how many fields we made required because we wanted people to just be using it and entering data, but this is information that we need to have and needs to be associated with that record. So, and we will be, as we tweak things, we will be having more fields as necessary be required. So keep that in mind. So also we had a core and bacteria form, and we have separated those. So there's one core form and there's one E. coli bacteria form. If you monitor both of those at the same site on the same day, you're just entering two forms. And on the core form, you will indicate whether or not it's a standard or a probe kit that you're using. That way we can keep track of things like who's using the old, might possibly be using the old conductivity meters. And we added, or no, we didn't add it. We had it in there already, but we did make updates to the riparian evaluation, which is, all these updates were to be more closely aligned to the PDF forms that are available. Is there anything else I should mention?
No, I think you covered it all. I would just want to note the calibrations. We understand that those haven't always been implemented in the past. And so, like Laura mentioned, and I want to reiterate, we're not going to necessarily require them to be entered into the data viewer just yet. However, we do want to get there. And so really press that on your citizen scientist, and also note that the field QC checklist that Sandra had mentioned earlier, that is now on the updated core monitoring form, and we're working to get them on all of the monitoring forms. That is our quality control checklist that is also on our data viewer. So if someone maybe doesn't do the calibration, then that data will get flagged. So just keep that in mind. We have updated the data viewer to show us what specifically is being flagged. So in particular, what specifically wasn't done to our quality assurance project plan protocols. So just keep that in mind. We don't flag all of the data. We don't want to, necessarily leave out any of the data, all of the data, because that data is still definitely usable. Just for research purposes, or if someone wants to utilize the data for whatever project or whatever it may be, we will have more specifics on why that data was flagged and maybe what parameters specifically may not be feasible for research purposes.
Do I have another slide? I thought
yes, just one more.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't make this slide. That's why I'm like, oh, nice to meet you. So here is the new monitoring site request form, as you can see there on the left and the right. So this is information that you would submit to have a new site requested, and this would be in lieu of activating an already inactive site if you need to have a new one made. Excuse me. And I'm the final step in that process. So the information goes to one of our student workers who gives me that little information like the stream segment, make sure that the county and all that information is there for the site. And then I go ahead and look at it on a map. So sometimes if I can't immediately tell that the site is actually on the water, I might ping you and be like, is this this bright. Maybe my satellite imagery isn't good. So that might hold up getting a new site. But I do want to say, if the site looks good and it's, well, no, I don't have anything additional to add to that. That's old school. That's old school. So the form is online and that goes straight into our box. So you can use that when you're requesting a new site. And since this is my last slide, I do just want to mention that if anybody needs any time to, if anybody wants to set aside some time to go through anything on the data viewer, like I'm happy to do that. We can set up time, shoot an email to the Texas Stream Team account, and I can get back with you and we can set something up, either like a one-on-one thing or with your group, for like how to enter data on the data viewer, how to use your account as a group leader, whatever you need. So just let me know.
Thanks, Laura. I wanted to just take a moment too, because I've gotten some direct messages, as well as I've seen some messages to the group in regards to the required fields. So again, we are going to make sure that we are not essentially requiring for that data to be entered just yet. As far as the calibrations, we will get to that at some point. We understand that the calibrations for some of the parameters weren't necessarily implemented or done before. So we're not going to just nix it to where you can't enter in any data at all. If there is some fields on the data viewer that are still like that, I apologize. We will do a check right after this and make sure that that isn't the case. So Laura, let's make sure to put that on our to-do list. We don't want to throw out all of the other data, because again, that data can definitely still be used. We'll update it on the data viewer to reflect that. Please still enter in the data. Just note that if you don't enter in the calibration, then let's say for conductivity, then we'll just go ahead and we'll flag that the calibration wasn't done. And the data viewer allows for us to elaborate on what specific parameter protocol wasn't followed, and why we shouldn't necessarily use that one, again, for more like research purposes, but why all of the other data is still feasible. I hope that answers y'all's questions. I saw a few of those come in. So definitely still enter the data, please, and we'll update the data viewer on our end.
Yeah, on that note, there are some updates to the forms that are pending. So
All right, first one on this slide is you, Laura, the electronic monitoring forms. Or I can do it, it's up to you.
I feel like we just talked about those. I'm not sure.
The survey 1, 2, 3 forms that we're
talking about goals. We're talking about
exploring.
the future. So yeah, in the future, we are planning to create I want to say this right. So we want to move our forms to a different platform, but do that as seamlessly as possible, and also keep them as similar to what we're using now. We would just be using a different platform. And one of the main reasons for that is, like, the platform we're using now costs money, and if we're not using that platform and we're using one that we have access to already that doesn't cost us any additional money, then we can use that money for something else in the program, like kits or travel to training or anything really. So the plan is to use another platform that integrates more seamlessly into some other aspects of our system, so that we can keep track of things instead of transferring things from one system to another. So it's for us as well as for you, but on the end result, it should be as seamless and transparent as possible. So not a lot will change for you, except for where you go to click to enter, to start your entering data process. So, but we will be doing that, not right away, but it is a goal.
And I want to elaborate too, just a little bit. This is something that for 2020 at least was not on our purview. There was many goals that we set for 2020, and obviously with COVID, things kind of got fumbled around. And to be honest, at one point, I don't even think we were exploring the idea of, electronic monitoring form or digital monitoring form. But then COVID hit, and we received multiple emails from people on ways to make that happen. We also noticed that there were other citizen science programs that had those electronic monitoring forms. And that is now one of our goals for 2021. That's pretty high up on the list for the reasons that Laura mentioned, but also because, citizen scientists also like to enter in their data directly, and it makes the process so much seamless for us, as well as you all who enter in the data into the data viewer, who are data coordinators as well. So again, like Laura mentioned, it's not going to happen right away, but I will say it is one of the goals that we have that is highest on our list. We understand also, saving paper and the environment too. We're trying to obviously limit our carbon footprint as much as possible. That being said, we'll probably take it one training at a time. Core will be the top of the list because, it's our most popular training. But kind of how we're thinking, and we're welcome you to provide feedback if you have any examples that you like. Right now, we're exploring the option of survey 1, 2, 3. So that'll allow for citizen scientists, you all who are down in the field, being able to enter in the data directly on their monitoring form. And then we are looking at ways of tying that specifically to our data viewer. So if you have a data viewer account, if you're a data coordinator, you will then be able to see all of your citizen scientist data that has been entered from there. Still working on that process. We want to make sure, one, that it's possible, and two, it's feasible for everybody that's involved. But the goal is to essentially make the data coordinator not the data entry person, but the quality control person on the data side. So just kind of wanted to provide a little bit more insight on where we're thinking for that, and let y'all know where we're at with it as well.
Yeah, we're always looking to expand our resources for y'all, so we're open to feedback. And that being said, we're always trying to develop outreach materials and resources. So some of the things to look forward to, but are not limited to, PowerPoint templates. So we're hoping to get y'all a template to use for like a general stream team informational PowerPoints that you could use at events or presentations that you might have to certain groups about Texas Stream Team and your activities in your area. Also, we really want to get y'all updated training templates for your trainings. So yeah, we're hoping to get out a template for each training that you guys could utilize. And again, they will be branded, so you wouldn't have to do anything on that, on any of these resources that you use from us. And then additionally, I think a pamphlet that we're trying to put together as another little quick, resource for you guys to hand out to people that may be interested in the program.
And then one more thing, and this kind of collaborates with our efforts in our virtual trainings, is we want to make sure all of our protocols for all of our trainings, if it's obviously feasible or needed, we want to make sure we have videos for absolutely everything. So we do have a YouTube channel. We do have some of our standard core and advanced and equali as well protocols on our YouTube channel, but we're looking to grow that, especially, with calibration or our field observations. We're not limiting it by any means. The goal is to have everything virtually, but especially when we start releasing maybe modifications to the protocols or new equipment, we want to make sure we have those on a video as well before we release them, and y'all would be the first ones to know about that. In addition, we have training checklist. This is something that isn't new. I know we've had these in the past for our trainings. We want to make sure we have one for every single training. So as you expand your trainer status to other trainings, we want to make sure we have a checklist for y'all on what to hit, what to note, kind of key points, things like that. And then next one is Megan. I think she's still on. Yeah.
Yep, I'm here. So this year, we are updating our Texas Stream Team water education curriculum for kindergarten through 12th graders. Some of the resources and links that are in the PDF that is currently on our website are out of date, and we know some of the diagrams are a little bit harder to see. So our goal this year is to get that completely updated, and it will have newer teaks on them for teachers to use in their classroom. When a teacher is trained with Texas Stream Team, they are currently given a certification for 6 hours with Texas Education for Environmental Education, abbreviation, you may have heard it as TEAC. So they are given that those hours to put for their certification. One thing that we are also wanting to do is to be able to provide them with CPE credit, which is listed as a professional development that they can use when they renew their license to be a teacher. So we are going to work with the state board to be able to provide that credit for them as well. So those are two things that we are working with improving for the education right now, since we are limited on outside events that we can go to and interact with teachers in their schools right now. We're trying to be able to have this ready for them that they can use in their classroom moving forward.
I'll jump in on the next one. So along with the videos, we want to an online platform that we're working towards. I think Sandra had already mentioned this, but just reiterating, we also want to make it to where our QC sessions can be done virtually. We're looking at a module style right now. We're still wrapping our brains on how we're going to do that, but it is definitely something we want to do. We know that y'all already do a lot with leading trainings and training citizen scientists and getting them established. So we want to make sure that kind of the upkeep with citizen scientists and their techniques are as easy as possible for everybody. So just know that that is something that we are working on. Next one is you, I believe, Sandra. You're muted.
Okay, now can you hear me? Okay, so we have been working on updating our training manuals for the various programs that we offer to include the information that we presented today. So we have drafts of all of our manuals, and so you know they're being reviewed for a final time, and hopefully you know our goal for this year is to get those finalized and out on our website. So those are definitely coming soon. And then the next one, equipment maintenance, videos and documents. Again, you know, these are things that we're working on. I know we have a lot of videos out on our website for a lot of the protocols that we implement. Some of those will need to be updated based on some of the new requirements that we discussed today. So those are also in the works for getting updated. So more to come on that.
So this is just a snapshot of what we have planned for 2021. We've started kind of listing in the beginning of the year some things that we've noticed that need updating or some goals that we have. So I welcome y'all to make suggestions too. Some of y'all are out on the ground more than we are. And so we want to make sure whatever we're updating or maybe what needs to be updated is taken into consideration and making it easier for everybody as well. All right, next slide, Claudia. All right, last thing, and then we will be done for the day. Just a quick website tour. Just kind of want to show y'all some resources that we talked about today. Some key pages for y'all to keep in mind as trainers, and as well as some pages to also refer to your citizen scientists as well. You want to go ahead and pop that open, Claudia?
So I wanted to show how to get there. So this is our main page. And we're going to forms and resources. And here we are. So there's a specific page now for trainers. Okay.
And Claudia, go ahead and scroll down. All this information that's at the top is basically everything that I told you all about us transitioning to the training enrollment form. Go ahead and scroll down to, yeah. So we are gonna add, excuse me, these are little drop downs, and we're gonna add probably a new drop down here, which will house the PowerPoint for today as well as the recording. So just something to keep in mind. I saw your chat, Richard, and I want to let y'all know all of the meeting resources moving forward are going to be here on the trainer resource page.
Okay, guess I can start with the things I didn't show earlier. So the brand guide is under here, under outreach materials and resources. Click on that. And it is all text, and it just basically is an outline of our editorial style guide, and it is, I believe, branded as well. So here shows our primary logos, our other logos, full color, white transparent, and then program logos, but really you just need to have that main one right there. Our fonts and our colors and the coding for those. So it's pretty straightforward as far as what you need to know when it comes to branding for Texas Stream Team. Go back. And then here are the flyer templates as well. So click on that, and that's the core, standard core template that I had in the presentation. And again, you do need Acrobat DC to edit these fields. So if you don't, you can reach out to us and we'll get you editable version of, that's a word. Okay, what else? What else? Templates. Oh,
Show them. Oh yeah. I was going to say, show them where the trainer enrollment form and the training enrollment form is too next.
Yes, and this would be that half a page flyer that you guys could give out at tabling style events or in that care package that I mentioned earlier. And it just, is a quick overview of our program. I think that was it for that. Okay. So, oh, and then I forgot about this. The submitting events to the calendar. So this is the field guide, and it is a step-by-step guide and includes the links that you need and instructions with photos to guide you guys. So this is that submit event label that would go on the event that you send. And these are the steps. And then I just want to go to the bottom where the alternate submission via email. So those details that we request are right there. So it's all accessible to y'all on the same resource guide. Okay, training enrollment form first. So here it is. And it's basically the same information that you would find on the traditional paper copy of the training packet. And again, I think I've received a few paper copies via email from some of you guys. However, I do see that you're still using some old versions. So make sure you're using the newest version, and those are still available on our website, as we are requesting some new information to help us kind of get an idea of who we're certifying and maybe who we want to expand to. So again, the teacher question, if you want those hours, are right here. And also if you're a student, we want to know how many students we're certifying now. And again, we're trying to tap into more teachers and students. So that is why that is there. Okay. And then the training sign-in sheet is right here. And this is all under pre-training, under leading a training. So hopefully this all makes sense to you guys where to find this later. So this is just a PDF copy. And I believe if you have Acrobat DC, you can just edit this on that software instead of having to print it out and then scan it and send it to us. And then,
Go ahead and pull down really quick on the first part, the leading and training, the standard core training. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mentioned earlier, if you are going to be start to transition over to the training enrollment form, those online training packets we now have, as Claudia is pointing to. So if you have them in person, we have an in-person version, and then we also have an online version as well. And then we also have, I just saw your question, Melissa, we are creating PowerPoints too for every single one of our trainings for our trainers to have to guide them when leading trainings, whether it be in person or you know, in a conference style where you have a projector, or whether you're just in person outside. So we have a core PowerPoint there. We plan on possibly updating this too, and also adding even more PowerPoints, different versions. If you want to do a training completely virtually, we're also looking at having PowerPoints set up for y'all to do those virtually as well. The enrollment form it's filled out online, and it is sent to us directly here at Texas Stream Team headquarters. It's sent to our txstreamteam@txstate.edu email account. So what happens is, as soon as the trainee fills out that training enrollment form with the information for your training specifically, it goes to Texas Stream Team. We hold on to it. We label it for the training date that is on there. And then whenever the trainer submits the training sign-in sheet, which Claudia had just pulled up, we take the sign-in sheet and we cross-reference it with the enrollment forms that have been filled out. Sorry, just answering questions in the chat.
no worries. Yeah, and we kind of, any new information will be always posted up here. So that is reiterated up here as well.
Claudia, can you go to the core, go to standard core training? And for Kayla, there's the standard core field guide that I mentioned earlier to kind of help your citizen scientists with the calibration. And so it goes through the observations, but then it takes you through the calibration for both the EC tester, which is the old one, and also for the tracer there to the right on that second column. And then the actual measurement. And then you just revert back to the calibration for the post calibration. And then maybe we can pull up the revised monitoring form. I don't know if are we ready to go there, Aspen, or were you gonna go back and talk about some other things?
I just wanted to answer out loud a question that Judy Reeves just sent in the chat. So she said, So the trainer will not know if the person has completed the form. Yes, so the trainer will not know if the training enrollment form has been completed. We are looking, unfortunately, Texas State University's website has limitations on where the form can go once it is submitted. We're looking at possibly some other form versions, but it really is coming down to us. So when you have your training sign-in sheet, just make sure everybody who attends the training is on that sign-in sheet, and it'll be up to us if we notice that someone is on the sign-in sheet who hasn't filled out a training enrollment form. It'll be up to us to reach out to them directly and make sure that they get that filled out before we can disseminate their certificate. Kind of the same thing as what we did prior with the liability form. If we notice that on the hard copy the liability form isn't filled out, we reach out to them directly and ask them to fill out the liability form. I hope we can get it to where we can have it sent to both the trainer and us, but to be determined still for now.
One thing to note, I believe the person signing up should receive a confirmation email. So at least there's that. But if you do need a list, you could always just reach out to us and I could send you the people that we've received a form from. Sometimes if you're postponing your training event and we already received some forms, and I'll reach out and let you know either way who signed up on their email, just so you have it on file. But yeah, we do keep those forms on file, and if you need them for your records, I can share them with you. Just let me know.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to point out was the monitoring form, and I think it's part of the training packet here, but if you go back to the citizen scientist link, it'll be explicit. Both the field guide and the monitoring form are together.
You're talking about going to the citizen scientist resource page?
Right.
Yeah. So just back up, Claudia. Yeah.
Just go to standard core, and that will be an example where you can find both the monitoring form and the field guide. It's
And
just
the manual.
below it. And the manual, yes.
And here it is.
So there in red at the top is where you would document the calibrations. For conductivity, for example, you'd hit the date, the time, the value of your conductivity standard, the temperature, and then your pre-test initial reading, what you calibrated the meter to, and then your post-test. And so for the probe core, there's room for the DO calibration and for the pH meter calibration as well. Okay. And maybe we can just run through the where they can locate the quality assurance project plan as well. I think that was the other item I had from my talk. So if you just go to the Stream Team homepage and then go to the right, yeah, you can access it just from the homepage. But I think from subsequent pages as well. You go to data and research, and that'll take you straight to it. So you can either view the entire QUAP, or there's also an annual review certification that it also includes an amendment that has occurred. So you click on those blue buttons up there, and that'll take you there. Okay.
Oh, I do want to show there also.
The data summary reports.
Yeah, I totally skipped
Oh,
that.
that's right.
That's where they are as well.
So just click on them and just
Where-
on anyone, yeah. All the data summary reports Texas Stream Team has ever done.
Oh, and here's our calendar.
Yeah. Go ahead and click on it, Claudia. Just good to show it on the other side too. So I'll note, because a few IMs have come up about future trainings. We do have a repairing evaluation training, a virtual one that is scheduled next month. You'll see it on the calendar. In March, we have a virtual E. coli bacteria training that we're doing. We also have, let's see, an advanced training that we have scheduled for August, and that'll be in person in San Marcos at the Meadow Center. And then we also have a standard core training that we're going to be holding in in June, not August, for the advanced training. I forgot we had moved it. And then we also have a private training that we're holding along the coast too. So just an FYI. And go ahead and show them how to share an event, like a training event.
So I think I'll share. And I just wanted to show this one because this is a private event. So it does show like time and all that, but it doesn't include location or any of that information. So this is what we do for private events. And because, you know, we're still following COVID guidelines, we are trying to include those details down here. But yeah, any of these on here, feel free to use them as templates also. We try to include all the information that we need on these in pages for everybody to have what they need. So all you would need to do is to hit the event that you want to share and hit that share button. And as page, it'll come up. And then you would just get this link and copy and paste it to an email that you're sending out to people, and they'll be able to see this event. So yeah, and that is from the read-only public view calendar.
Kayla is asking if you can show that one more time.
How to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so you would just select the training you are interested in. So I'm gonna go back to today and see that there is a training event on the 13th that our Bobcat Stream team at Texas State is hosting. So up here, there is a share button, and you could also print, but that's not necessary. And there are different ways to share, but the easiest one I find is just to share as page. And it'll create this other page, and you could just grab that link and share it, and it'll go directly to this specific event. And so I'm going to go to the add event calendar. So up here you see it says add events. There's a training here that I have on my radar because it was actually postponed. So I just moved it and it is locked for you guys. You wouldn't be able to edit any events that anybody else has submitted. What I find, if something gets rescheduled or postponed, I just put it back on submit events. And then once I get new details from you guys, I change it. So it just helps me skip a step there. But let's see, let's say March 1st. And all you have to do is uncheck that all day, select your time. So you usually do a couple hours. And this all depends on the size of your training event also. So it'll depend. And then you don't have to be so specific. I will make the edits as necessary because we do follow certain title guidelines as far as that. But this is all for you just to share that with me. And then you can say San Marcos, or if you want to just leave it private, you can leave it blank. And then you would just include your description here. And then you hit save. And there it is. And so I have to use an administrator link to release this event. So I will see that there. And once it is released, it'll go to the public view calendar. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this while I'm here because I will forget. But again, that resource guide on our website does show all the steps you need to get your event submitted to here. And here I wanted to show an example of our online event here and what is included on the description. So it is a Stream Team training. It is open to Texas Stream Team participants. It is online via Zoom. And again, here I say must have camera because we do need to be able to view your techniques. Any kind of requirements, so age requirements, even sometimes if depending on the training, what we may require of you guys, if it's outside, you know, bring adequate clothes and water, things like that. And then if spaces are limited and who to RSVP with and the deadline for that. So again, this is kind of something you guys could use as a template if you needed something like that. And for the advanced training, since it is a prerequisite for folks that want to attend to have been core trained for a minimum of 6 months, that is something that is included on our advanced training events that are listed on here.
I want to be mindful of time, Claudia. I'm not sure, are there any other key things that we need to show on the website? Sandra, Laura?
Any forums that we wanted to go over?
I think I'm good, unless folks need some direction or.
Our partner page lists all of our partners. Our trainers page is what I was talking about earlier, where all of our trainers that are active are listed on our trainers page. The reason why we don't list inactive trainers is because we don't want people bombarding you if you are maybe taking a break or, you know, maybe you are no longer active and no longer part of Texas Stream Team. So this is only listing active trainers. We try to keep this updated. If we notice that you start picking up your trainings, we'll add you back to this page. Let's see, go back. And this has all of your contact information on there as well. Then go back to the home page. We won't go through everything. I just kind of want to note the important bits. So we have a trainings and programs page that lists all of our trainings that we offer, all of the programs that we have as well, educational programs, partners that we program, or programs that partners of ours have that we partner with them on. So if you ever have a training and you want to link to these pages on your calendar event, or if you want to send information to anybody who's asking any questions about, let's say, an Eagle Eye training, feel free to send them the link to the Eagle Eye page. Just gives information about what's required, what's entailed of the training, stuff like that. And I think that is it. A lot of resources in there. Don't want to obviously go over every single one of them, but definitely want to encourage you all to utilize them. And we try to keep this updated and continue to update it with resources that we add in the future as well. But I think we are good on the website tour. I want to open it up to Q&A. We did have a few questions come in that I want to address out loud for everybody. I want to start with Kendall's question, and this will be for you, Sandra. She says, if I understand the manual correctly, citizen scientists only need to do the conductivity calibration either pre or post, not both. Is that correct?
No, for conductivity, they have to do both pre and post. The only one that doesn't require a post is the refractometer. That just needs to be zeroed out up front with DI water.
Okay. Hopefully that answers that, Kendall. I know with conductivity calibration, it kind of got confusing. It's always been in the manual, but it just kind of fell off. And so we're just trying to make sure that we bring it back and make it as easy as possible to, acclimate people back to it. As the state water quality monitoring protocols change and get updated, we try to make sure that Texas Stream team is right there with them as much as possible, align our data with the state's data and their protocols as much as possible. So we don't mean to try to change things all the time, but just know it's not just us, and we'll try to make it as easy as possible for y'all as well and provide as many resources as we can.
Yeah, Kendall, if you go to the field guide that we pointed out, and it'll take you step for step. It shows the I think it just says calibration for both of the conductivity meters. And then the next step after that, it takes you through the actual measurement. At the end of the measurement, it'll instruct you to go back up to the calibration to conduct your post cal.
I just linked the PDF for the field guide too, so you'll have it while we're talking about it. Jenna, I see that you're still on. I don't know if you're there or not, but we had a question come in too that I think would be really good for you to answer if you're still there.
Hey, I'm here.
Okay, so Bill Balboa has asked, he said that some of the folks in this area, he is in the Matagorda Bay area, want to know if there are any examples of where Stream Team data collection efforts triggered or were used to bolster some sort of state or other regulatory action to remedy a problem discovered by citizen scientists. I really like your story, so I think it would be cool to share it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Trying to think specifically for state action or
you had that the one in Waco.
Yeah, that was state action. So one example I like to use that was a personal experience, and I would love to hear from some of our other long time trainers and partners on this too, and even gather more stories. But when I was a trainer and Stream Team partner in working for the city of Waco as their watershed coordinator, I was working with Melissa at Baylor, and we held a lot of trainings out at the Lake Waco wetlands, and then I worked with some anglers that were able to get to spots on Lake Waco that really were not accessible any other way. And one of the anglers that would go to this kind of, little cranny of the lake and fish, as a secret fishing spot for him. And he would collect water samples. And one time he called me up right after he got off the lake and said that he had noticed an oil sheen on the water in that area. And so I went out, I got in a kayak with him, and he showed me where it was, and we saw this illegal pump that was pumping water out of the lake with a generator that was leaking diesel straight into the lake. And so not only was it like a pollution event, but illegally taking water out of the lake without a permit. And so we contacted TCEQ and sounded the alarms even just within the city to get that addressed. And within a couple days that was addressed, but who knows how long it would have gone on without these citizen scientists. And then I think he visited it pretty often, so he was monitoring there once a month, and we were able to identify it very quickly. And so that's one example of like a diesel leak and into a drinking water source. And then there are many other examples of high bacteria levels, fish kills, that I would like to get organized and turn into a book or something that we could really start showing these examples more clearly. Does anyone else have any examples? I know there's been a lot identified around the DFW area and even San Marcos. Anybody else want to share? And feel free to add your camera if you're talking. All right.
I see that Christopher has his hand raised.
Yeah, I thought that was proper protocol and stuff.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I forget about that feature.
Yeah, well, we do Zoom, we do Teams. I've done all the different types of
Yeah.
video chatting with different contractors and industrial people, because not everyone has the same kind of technique or what do you call these programs, apps. So yeah, it's a lot different for a lot of stuff, and a lot of times I'm out in the field, so I'm not always in front of my laptop, so it's hard to get some of these things. So as far as stories, yeah, DFW, we're riddled with quite a few different ones. A lot of times it'll be private ponds, and we'll get fish kill requests for those, and we're like, well, we don't really know what's going on because we don't have an inlet or an outlet that goes into this. But a lot of my citizen scientists, they mostly help me find out my concrete washout spills from a couple of different construction sites. And so even though we're monitoring all of our sites, we follow the TCQ's regiment of small sites every 28 days, large sites every 13 days. Well, they can leak anytime between that leaks or that inspection schedule, and we won't know about it until someone calls it in. So the citizens that are out there on the creeks all the time, normally your creek is nice and clear and suddenly it's all chalky white. Well, that's something wrong. So they help us alert us out on that.
Thanks, Christopher. Anybody else?
I have something that has happened a number of times in Dallas, and Christopher knows about this as well. People will report in some of the creeks a tidy bowl blue, bright blue color. It's not kind of odd, and let Chris chime in here too on his ideas about that. But it seems that some people on private property or on ponds that they've impounded will use some dye to retard algae growth, and somehow that gets released downstream, and you get this bright blue color. And that's my thought on it. Let Chris chime in.
We've had 3 separate incidences of stuff like that. One is actually just blue-green algae kind of dyeing the water. Another one was dye that someone was using for a pool to dye the concrete, and they washed off all their utensils, which then got into the watershed. And then the third one is, yes, there are quite a few of those different algicides or pond colorators. And again, it's these private ponds, which I have no delegation or relegation to stop them from doing that on private property. And you get those big, nice rainstorms like we just had last week. And we're going to have a couple of slow ones this week up here in DFW. And their pond gets overfilled. It drains out into the creeks. And until we can track it up there and find out what it is, then we can't issue them any citations. And then with these color dyes, they are technically safe, even though they do basically kill off aquatic plant life. They will wash out eventually.
Interesting.
So.
Okay. And this, for the remainder of the time, we're going to be doing just an open Q&A session. So if you don't have any questions or you got to run, feel free. We do have some questions in the chat, so I'm just going to read them aloud so everybody is tuned in. And but feel free when I'm not talking, unmute your mic or pop it in the chat. So we had a question come in from Marty. He says, I have a question about the probes. We are using the X-Tech, X-Stick 2s, I think it is, which aren't discussed when y'all were showing the old versus the new probes. Are the X-Techs old or new? I'll let you answer this one, Sandra.
Sure. The X-Techs are part of the probe kit. And so those are being used in the standard probe monitoring. So for the standard core, we're using the tracer. I don't know how this all came about. This was all before my time. You know, why they're different, I don't know. I don't know if Jenna may have the background on that. But I know we're trying to, I mean, Lamont has replaced the EC Tester 11, the dual range, the tan one, with the gray tracer, and so in the standard core kit. And so that's kind of, I think, how that evolved. And then I guess my guess would be that the probe kit, has always come with the X-Tech model.
Christopher is asking, can you use an X-Tech in a wet chemical kit?
So for the core, I mean, I don't see why not. We use it for probe. All the data get uploaded or entered into our data viewer. And at that point, they're handled, as one type of data, whether it's.
Yeah, what I'm basically asking is I have a bazillion and one of those old tan gray things. I forget what they're called again. The continuity probes. I forget the brand name of them because there's been actually quite a few different brand names like Okratron or whatever. So we're in the process of ordering new supplies. And so I'm going to try to order in some probe kits because the probe kits will work better for some of my citizen scientists that actually want to do more than one site at a time. So when you're doing the old wet chemistry kits, is what I still do for core, that takes roughly an hour at each site. Whereas with the probe kits, you can calibrate it in the morning and you can do roughly 5 sites in an hour if you just drive around and just pop. So if the X-Tech ones, because I have a good deal on them from one of my dealers from T Equipment, if that one probe that is basically a pH and a conductivity probe there, if that one is the same kind of quality as the tracer, I'll also watch the cheaper. But if I get the X-Stick for cheaper, what I'm wanting to know is, can I just start popping one or the other into those kits and it'd be exchangeable?
I would say yes. I mean, both kits are covered under our QAPP.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and like I said, when the data are entered into our data viewer, they're treated as one data type, regardless of which of the instruments, whether it's standard core or probe core.
We do have an option though on the data viewer for core to select if you've done standard core or probe core. So maybe we need to tweak it on our end to add in like a blended option and allow for you to elaborate on what parameter you used the probe for and what you stuck with standard core. I say that because we have, and some of y'all have messaged me directly, we have had instances where the probe core, we have found it's been a lot more maintenance to keep up with. You got to do a lot more equipment checks. You got to make sure that You are very specific on how you're maintaining it to, in regards to the longevity of the meter itself. And so we've had some people who've had issues with it not working for the probe kit, not the standard core kit. So just make sure, you keep an eye on that. We're hoping to develop some guides for that, but we also want to make sure that the data that is being collected by the probe core kit is also somehow earmarked in the data viewer, so we know, if there's any differences, what to look out for. See, Jennifer says, does anyone prefer the X-Tech versus the other one? Our X-Techs are kind of glitchy.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what you were saying, Aspen, about being sure to maintain the instruments. And we do have a maintenance guide posted on our website somewhere. I don't recall seeing it off the top of my head, but Aspen, do you recall where that's at?
Let me see if I can find it.
But we do have some guidance that we put together based on input from some of our probe core monitors and trainers.
Yeah, we haven't released the maintenance yet.
Okay.
We're working on it though. And we hope to have a video too, one day with it on just some helpful tips that we've learned from y'all trainers who have been using those for a while as well.
Can we share the draft in the chat, or?
I'm not sure where it is, to be honest.
Okay.
It's been a while since we've.
Yeah, I know. I recall sharing it with the folks out at Iran a while back.
Yeah, we had taken a few different resources and we were trying to combine them all together. And that was one of the projects that we were working on that kind of got slipped under the rug during the COVID transition, but it is something on our to-do. So just note that if you do plan on using the probe core, just kind of note that they require extra special care. They definitely are easier.
Yeah, hi, this is Jennifer with Parks. We work with our state parks on that, and we also all have, YSIs and stuff. So maintaining these guys are less, overall.
Yeah.
But with our large probes, we have to replace our pH units every year, sometimes sooner than that. Do y'all have any feedback or any information about, if the pH probes are also on that 6 month to a year replacement requirement, or anyone?
Yeah, I don't recall seeing that in particular in some of the documents we've reviewed. And like Aspen said, we were trying to combine information from a couple of different documents and update everything. I know what you're talking about with the SONs. I know the pH probe is typically replaced, but I haven't seen that with these.
I try to keep track of all of my SONs, like I do my YSI, and I'm finding that I do have to replace or repair the probe at least annually, if not sooner.
Yeah. Something to note too on that. It's a really good point that you just brought up. So with Lamont, the probe kit is actually, I think with both kits, is under warranty for a year. So if you notice, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Sandra.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay. So if you notice any problems, malfunctions, whatever it may be within a year's time, make sure you hold on to your receipt and documentation, because Lamont should replace those.
I had whoever makes the X-Stick replace mine once, but now I've gone through and I've replaced the like the DO, just the element. I didn't get a whole new stick. And so I guess I'm not sure what the warranty is on that, you know, because once you start replacing the parts,
Yeah.
I haven't called back and asked. They're really helpful when I do call. I just was wondering if it was just my stuff.
Yeah, it's something we've noticed too for other people as well. Sandra, maybe a quick tips that we can give people while they're on, because I know a couple of people are IMing or have IM'd about the maintenance. I know storing them without their batteries when you're not using them is a good one.
Yeah, we've had a lot of them corrode. You know, if you're storing them long term, we recommend you take the batteries out for long term storage. Yeah, I was looking to see if I could find that little guidance document, and I can't seem to put my hand on it. I know that had some good, you know, rinse. You know, do a good rinse before you store it. The batteries. You know, your calibrations should tell you whether they've drifted as well. So those are good. Good things to do.
The new data sheets with the updated DO stuff and the calibration at the head, it was going to help with that, with all the boxes that were needed. So.
Yeah, and like for the conductivity meter throughout the guide, the monitoring guide, we tried to be explicit about, you know, where to document on the form to help with that.
One thing that comes to mind that Rachel brought to our attention too is after you rinse the probe, let it dry, tap it, or, you know, tap it dry before you put the cap back on. That's for the conductivity one as well for the standard core kit. And if anybody else is on too who has kind of learned their way around maintaining the probes, feel free to jump in too. We're still learning as we go as well. But other than that, feel free to ask any other questions that y'all may have. We'll stay on for as long as we have questions. No questions come in, y'all are welcome to leave at any time. Again, just want to repeat, we will be sharing the PowerPoint as well as this recording for the meeting on the trainer resources page on the website. We'll send an email out to everybody who was in attendance today and let y'all know when those are up and ready as well.
I just wanted to mention something that I didn't touch on earlier when it was my turn for the presentation, and that's that for submitting data, if you notice, or I'd like you to share with your citizen scientists if you're not entering their data for them, but data correction should not be made by submitting another record. So either the group manager, the group leader of that account can go in and make edits to a record, or I can go ahead and make the updates to that record, but another record shouldn't be entered for the same sampling event. And this is to make sure we're using the right record of that sampling event, as when two get entered, it kind of throws us off a little bit. And the other thing I wanted to say is, like, a few of you asked me questions, and I wanted just to make sure that you knew I have those written down, and I'm going to follow up with you on those.
Just kind of elaborating a little bit on some talk in the chat about the best maintenance is to buy a new one. Another thing is Sandra and I have it on our to-do list too, to start exploring maybe some other options to the probe collection or some type of, equipment that'll allow you to collect, your parameters a little bit quicker. We understand some people really like the standard core kit. They like seeing and messing with the chemicals, but we also want to make sure that the digital kit that we have is, obviously, we don't want y'all to be dealing with these issues. So keep that in mind. We will be doing some research. I think that's on our goal this year to do. And if y'all find anything too, I know Richard, you had posted in the chat to me directly that you were experimenting with some other meters as well. So we're always open to other options. Especially if they're cheaper in the sense of like solutions and stuff. We obviously want to make sure that whatever we are using can meet the criteria that we have set. So just throwing that out there. Let's see. Richard, you said, does the recording include chats? I do not believe it does. However, I just learned this like yesterday. In the chat feature, there are 3 little dots in the top right corner. If you click that and click the save chat, which I believe everybody should have the option for, it'll actually save the entire chat for you. I think you can download it directly to your computer.